Welcome to Travel, See, Explore. Today we are in Belem, exploring this beautiful district. Belem District lies along the banks of the Tagus River to the west of Lisbon, which is only 30 minutes from central Lisbon. Having visited Lisbon, I really recommend you set aside a day to explore Belem. It makes for a fantastic and very convenient day trip. In this video, we put together a guide for the best things to do and see in Belem, plus some insider's tips. It is fairly easy to walk between all the sites and see other things along the way. Lisbon is a city whose journey has forever been tied to the sea. It's not surprising that many of the important landmarks can be found along the waterfront in Belem. It's one of the most important neighbourhoods of Lisbon. The Portuguese began the exploration of the world from here at Belem, which is known as the Age of Discoveries. It is here where the Tagus River opens up to the Atlantic Ocean. It was from here that many of the ships that mapped the world during the Age of Discoveries departed. Vasco da Gama left from these shores to India in 1497, discovering a new sea route to the east and starting global trade as we know it. Everywhere you turn in Belem is a reminder of those times. This pretty district is the setting for many of Lisbon's most iconic tourist attractions, including Belem Tower, Jeronimos Monastery and the Monument of Discoveries, as well as the museums. The district is filled with parks, scenic riverside walks and has a much calmer atmosphere than central Lisbon. There is so much to see and do in the Belem district. It's easy to get to Belem district from central Lisbon. We took tram 15E from Commerce Square, also known as Praça do Comércio, which is in the Bikes district where we stayed. If you have a Lisbon card, it is free to travel on the tram to Belem. We use the Viva Viagem card on the tram, or you can buy the ticket on board, which will cost a lot more. There are frequent trams to Belem and the journey takes approximately 30 minutes. It is up to you which monument you wish to see first. This will decide which stop you come off at. We came off at Larga de Presença, that's the closest stop to Belem Tower, or you can get off 2 stops earlier at Mosteiro Jerónimos, which takes you to Jerónimos Monastery. If you're not sure, follow the crowd, which will most likely be heading towards Jerónimos Monastery. However, we started the day at Belem Tower. Belem Tower is located right by Jerónimos Monastery and the Monument of Discovery, so they are not far from each other. I would suggest making Belem Tower your first stop, due to the long queues that form. Only a limited number of people are allowed inside the tower at any one time, and that's because of the spiral staircase. From a distance, Belem Tower looks like a beautiful small fairy tale castle rising from the river. It stands as a reminder of Portuguese prestige and power during the Age of Discoveries. The tower is constructed on the northern bank of Tagus River, built between 1514 and 1520, as a fortress to guard the entrance to Lisbon's harbour and defend the city against enemy attack. The impressive stonework, the exceptional architecture, which is of Manueline style, symbolises Portugal's Age of Discovery. The historical significance has made UNESCO list it as a World Heritage Site. From the outside, the tower is beautiful, and you can admire it from many different angles. The tower has 5 floors, and each floor is connected by a single narrow, steep spiral staircase. These stairs are so narrow that they've installed a red and green traffic light system to control when people can ascend or descend at a given moment, which on the busiest day can be a little overwhelming, having to wait your turn to go up and down. The stairway can get quite crowded too. For that reason, only a limited number of people are allowed inside the tower at any one time, which results in long queues forming outside. So try to get to Belem Tower early in the morning, soon after it opens, because by the afternoon it becomes really busy. The exterior and first level of the tower are easily accessible. Those with mobility issues may have trouble touring the higher levels. The ground floor has 16 cannons. This floor was once known for housing the tower's artillery, with cannons that were aimed across the river through the narrow window openings. A lot of those guns continue to remain in the same place to date. You can also see the pits and holes where the prisoners were thrown into. The best part of the tower is the first level, whereby you can appreciate the stunning architecture. Here you will find 6 turrets with small windows where soldiers hid their guns and cannons, as well as wonderful views of the Tagus River and the surrounding landmarks. You'll notice Virgin Mary and Child dominate the scene. They are often referred to as Our Lady of Homecoming. She's believed to have ensured the safe returning of sailors. The major highlight of Belem Tower is its open terrace at the very top, with wonderful views of the Tagus River and the neighbouring landmarks. And take a moment and remember, it was here that the 16th century explorers discovered the sea routes to East Africa, Brazil and India, and later these trading routes brought incredible wealth into Portugal, funding the construction of Jeronimos Monastery, which we will see later on in this video. From Belem Tower, you can see the Monument of Discoveries in the distance. So from here, make your way to the Monument of Discoveries. It's a beautiful short walk along the riverfront from Belem Tower. You won't be able to miss it. It's an enormous monument that rises up to 52 meters high, and it was built in 1960. The Monument of Discovery marks the 500th anniversary of the death of Henry the Navigator, who instigated Portugal's Age of Discoveries. The monument represents a 3-sail ship ready to depart, with sculptures of important historical figures of that era that played a big part in Portugal's Age of Discoveries. It celebrates the nation's most revered seafarers. At the front of the ship is Henry the Navigator, and if you look closely you will notice only one of the figures is a woman, Queen Philippa of Lancaster, the mother of Prince Henry. Now the outside is stunning, but if the outside of the monument isn't impressive enough, you can always head up to the observation deck. For a small fee, you can go inside the monument and go up to the viewing platform via a lift for spectacular views of Belem District. And remember, don't forget to look down at the Mapa Mundi, a giant marble map showing routes and days of the Portuguese voyage. There's also an exhibition on the lower level about the monument and the historical period. If you have some spare time during a day trip to Belem, I would recommend taking a casual stroll or bike ride along the waterfront. There is a very wide walkway connecting Belem Tower to the Monument of Discoveries that is lined with restaurants and cafes, and it makes for a wonderful nice walk, especially around sunset. Or if walking isn't really your thing, there are plenty of evening cruises that you can go on, which offer a nice change of scenery and beautiful views of the city. Nearby, continuing your voyage into Lisbon's seafaring past at the Jeronimos Monastery, which is not far from the Monument of Discoveries, and you can actually see it from the monument. The location of Jeronimos Monastery is no coincidence. The monastery was built on the site of a former chapel where Vasco da Gama and the rest of the sailors prayed before setting sail down the African coast to India. Stretching for nearly 300 meters along the Belem riverfront, this is the finest example of manual architecture anywhere. It is the most impressive symbol of Portugal's power and wealth during the Age of Discovery. UNESCO declared it as a World Heritage Site in 1983, one of the 7 wonders of Portugal. This magnificent monastery took over 100 years to complete and was funded by the 16th century spice trade. The cost was staggering. It was projects such as this that almost ruined the nation by the 18th century. The interior of the monastery features a 2-story cloister and the main chapel of Santa Maria of Belém. When you visit Jeronimos Monastery, you'll quickly realise that the cloisters are the highlight. Absolutely breathtaking. The arches and vaulted ceilings are full of intricately carved decorations. So spend some time to look closely at the stone carving. The cloisters are magnificent, with each column differently carved with coils of rope, sea monsters, coral and other sea motifs, plus religious symbols of that time. Around the cloister you will come across a number of spaces, namely the chapter house and the refectory. The refectory walls have beautiful tile decorations on the walls, dating from 1780 to 1785. The tile panels depict the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000 in the New Testament and scenes from the life of Joseph in Egypt from the Old Testament. As you continue along the arcades, you reach the chapter house, where the tombs of Portuguese historian and first mayor of Belem, Alexander Herculano, is held. When you explore the cloister, you'll see the church of Santa Maria from above. Best of all, the church is free to visit. The entrance to the church is via the western doorway next to the queue to enter the monastery. So remember, there are two queues, one to enter the monastery and the other queue for Santa Maria Church. They are next to each other. There's a lot to see inside the church and it is very beautiful. The church is unusual in that it has a single nave that is held up by 6 beautiful columns, and each of them are intricately carved. The highlight of the church are the nave and the upper choir with breathtaking views of the church. The church has the tombs of Vasco da Gama among others, so do spend some time inside the church admiring the beautiful architecture. After exploring the monastery, take a break and walk down to the famous Pastéis de Belém, the famous Portuguese egg custard tarts, which you have probably heard of and maybe you've even tried one in Lisbon already. Pastéis de Belém is a short walk from the monastery. This bustling cafe is a perfect place to take a break from sightseeing, and their delicious custard tarts offer a real taste of Portuguese culture. In the early 1800s, the Portuguese rulers forced their resident monks to vacate their beloved monastery. Destitute, the monks sold their prized possession, their secret egg custard tart recipe. 5 generations later, the neighbouring Belem patisserie serves over 20,000 pasta de nata to sweet to devotees each day, and the recipe remains a guarded secret to this day. Don't let the long queues scare you off. The majority of tourists buy the pastries to go, and remember there are 2 queues, one for takeouts and the other to sit in. If you are sitting in, follow the sign saying table service. There's plenty of room inside. If you are getting hungry, there are many restaurants and cafes nearby. However, at lunchtime, almost every restaurant in Belem is likely to be very busy. It's better planning an early or late lunch to avoid the rush service and the long queues. If you still have time, check out some of the museums within the area. Belem District is full of interesting museums. Unfortunately, we did not have enough time to visit them all. An interesting museum to visit is the National Coach Museum. It's one of the most popular museums in Belem. It offers a collection of horse-drawn carriages, sedan chairs and coaches. Some of these were used by the Portuguese and other European royal families. These carriages date back hundreds of years, and the collection inside is actually quite spectacular. There are other museums to visit. It really depends on how much time you have available and what it is you want to see. If you do have extra time, check out the Maritime Museum, which preserves relics from the Portugal's golden age of sail. Take a leisurely walk or a bus ride to the MAAT Museum, the Museum of Art, Architecture and Technology. This curvy white tile building, which resembles a wave rising towards a river, is one of Lisbon's modern icons, and even if you don't go inside to see the museum, it's worth a stop for the view from the top. You can walk around and even climb the top of this waterfront landmark, as we did. The area is beautiful. It offers views of the bridge and statue of Christ the King across the river Tagus. You can also just sit on the promenade, look into the river with a cold beverage, watching the world go by, as well as enjoying an incredible 360-degree panoramic view of the Riverside region and the city. In the late afternoon, the landscape becomes even more beautiful, with the sun setting on the horizon and reflected in the waters of the Tagus River. By now, you will be towards the end of the day, having explored Belem. It's easy to fill an entire day seeing the sights of Belem. You're finished with an understanding of the history of Lisbon during the age of discoveries. I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like, subscribe and comment.